Peter Parker and Norman Osborn have an incredibly interesting relationship. In some stories, they're friends, and in other stories, they're foes. And in Spider Man No Way Home, I was looking for the opportunity to really get an update on the relationship between Norman and Peter. While I was sad that we didn't get the opportunity to really kind of flesh out the backstory behind these characters on screen, the comic books are actually taking the cue, from those early Spider-Man comics from Stan Lee and Steve Ditko to kind of advance the Norman Osborn Peter Parker relationship in a brand new direction. My name is Arakko, and today we're going to go ahead and discuss the interesting characterization present in The Amazing Spider-Man number 8. But before we do so, I wanted to go ahead and encourage you to subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. And also, why not go ahead and like this video? Now that we have that housekeeping out of the way, I wanted to go ahead and introduce our full creative team for The Amazing Spider-Man number 8. This issue is written by Zeb Wells, art from John Romita Jr., inks from Scott Hanna, colors from Marcio Menyz, and letters from VC's Joe Caramagna. In addition, I want to go ahead and read off the one-sentence solicitation that Marvel made for this issue. Spider-Man has a new costume and accessories that look vaguely familiar. Is that a glider? Amazing Spider-Man number 8 is, again, like I mentioned earlier, primarily focused on fleshing out that relationship between Peter Parker and Norman Osborn. But the issue starts with Peter Parker fighting his old foe, Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. And also want to take a step back here and just say thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste for this preview that we're looking at for the issue. And now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Spider-Man's confrontation with the Vulture. As you can see, I love how the lettering is handled in this issue. Essentially, in the Amazing Spider-Man number 7, Spider-Man was like knocked off his course of direction and just sent kind of free falling. It's such like a classic sort of cliffhanger that, author Zeb Wells came up for this story. And in case you can't already tell from the preview of the issue, this is a really stripped back script. There are only a few scenes in the issue overall, and I think this is almost the kind of series that you can consider like a bottle episode. But the characterization with Norman and Peter happens towards the end of the issue, and author Zeb Wells does such a great job illustrating a sense of push and pull between Norman and Peter. Now, really what Wells is trying to do is establish Osborn as a sort of, very nice, very kind of cordial figure. But Norman Osborn's, villainous past is kind of catching up to him, and he's trying to reject some of those past experiences and really just embrace Peter Parker and Spider-Man for who he truly is. But there's always an interesting sense of tension in the relationship. Now, I'm giving Zeb Wells a little bit of a pass on this issue because the plotting is a little sparse. But that's simply because in these last issues of Amazing Spider-Man, we've gotten so much characterization. Wells has done a really good job advancing, Peter Parker's friendship with Black Cat. He's done a good job kind of sticking with this new status quo for Mary Jane, being a little bit detached from Peter Parker, and also makes such interesting choices with the villains in, his series. Overall, can't recommend, Zeb Wells on Spider-Man enough here. And we really wanted to take the opportunity to, dive a little bit deeper into one of the individual issues of the series. So artist John Romita Jr. really does a good job kind of adapting to the unconventional nature of the script. Like, especially take a look at these couple pages that have so many panels on them, but still manage to tell a really coherent story. Some of my issues with John Romita Jr.'s art have to do with some of the anatomy choices. The anatomy can really be kind of like stretched out or curved in some inappropriate ways at times. Especially in some pages with the Vulture's wings. That was something that kind of detracted from my enjoyment of the issue. However, I love when John Romita Jr. has the opportunity to tell a more action-packed, action-focused sense of art. And this is a script that really allows him to do so and kind of plays to some of his strengths that, go less in the way of anatomy and just more is interlocked with a great sense of conflict. So The Amazing Spider-Man number 8 does a fantastic job kind of segueing into the more character-focused parts of the story. And one of the things that was present from kind of the last mini run, Spider-Man Beyond, that's still here in this issue is that great sense of subtext. You are not going to be able to understand all of what Norman and Peter have to say just at face value. You're going to have to read between the lines a little bit of what they're saying. And I think that's great because at the end of the day, this issue is a very, very quick read. And it's worth kind of taking that additional content, that additional sense of subtext as well. I'm really curious to see how Norman and Peter's relationship is going to continue to develop in this series. This issue leaves the duo off with more friendly terms, but I think it may not stay that way forever. At the end of the day, I think I'm still hoping for the best for both Norman Osborn and Peter Parker. I want them both to kind of coexist in one space, at least for a limited time, while we explore this new opportunity that Wells has crafted to dig deeper into their relationship. I really love how Wells is kind of continuing his trend from previous Spider-Man issues and telling really big, really action-packed stories. But there's also a strong sense of character development in every single issue that we have to date. I know that we are not at the best part of this Spider-Man run yet, but there are so many pieces on the board now that I can't wait until Wells starts cashing in his chips and really exploring the next directions of kind of where he's taken the franchise. Also, Spider-Man is heading into that dark web crossover, featuring Venom and the X-Men very soon, and there's going to be a little bit of fallout from the Hellfire Gala as well. There are so many interesting things on the horizon for Peter Parker and Spider-Man. This was a really kind of fun issue that was a little more simple in the middle of a run that has kind of a lot more lofty ambitions and a lot more context. So those were my thoughts on this new issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. I want to know if you had, kind of the same reaction to me. Did you think this issue was light on content? Did you enjoy the subtext? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me to check out the video, and I will see you next week. Bye.